all arikang paticca samuppanna. The word paticca samuppanna we use in our recitals and so forth. See the way our paticca samuppanna works, dependent origination works in our daily life, in getting in touch with the world, with our senses, dependent origination arises. They all are dependently arising. Now, sight is sankatang, all arikang, paticca samuppanna. And the sound, sankatang, all arikang, paticca samuppanna. The smell, all arikang, sankatang, all arikang, paticca samuppanna. Taste, sankatang, all arikang, paticca. It's a very good subject to meditate. Touch, sankatang, all arikang, paticca samuppanna. The thought, sankatang, all arikang, paticca samuppanna. So, when the sound, we hear a sound, as soon as the person realizes these three steps, understood these three, as soon as these three words arises in the mind, sound disappears just like a strong person snaps his fingers, like this. Of course, disappears. Normally sound keeps dragging. If it is music, song, talk, our ears will be captured and stays with the sound. If you don't want that, if you want to get into a meditation, immediately this is sankata. This condition, sound is made up of various conditions. It is growth. And it is dependently arisen. If we can switch our mind to these three steps, then it disappears just like a finger snap disappears. Then the odor, the smell. The simile is there is lotus leaf. Lotus leaves are like this, but they don't stay like this all day. It bends slanting. As soon as the water drop of water drops onto the lotus leaf, it goes back to the lake or the pond. Lotus leaf does not hold water. Some kind of miracle is there, even if it is like this. If it is like this because of the curve, the what you call convex or concave shape, water stays, but it is turned, it goes and would not remain even a moisture on the water leaf. Similarly, the taste and the smell, hits our nose, what you call neurons, and stays there longer. But as soon as we come to this kind of thinking, meditation, this is sankatang, olarikam, paticca, that thought becomes so strong, the smell fades away. So it doesn't bother us at all. And the taste, it is interesting, not in many societies people like to do that. Suppose somebody collects a little spittle to the tip of his tongue and like this throw it away. Normally people don't do it in every society, but if, as an example, Buddha said, just as quickly as you spit out little spittle at the tip of your tongue, you can let go of the greed for the taste, thinking that this is sankatan or arikan paticca. Then the touch. When the body touches the object, tangible, the person says, this touch, this sensation of touch also is conditioned, gross and paticcasamuppanna. As soon as that thought arises in the mind, the meditator can let go of the clinging, craving for that particular touch, and mind remains in equanimity. So the simile given there is like somebody flex his arm and extend very quickly, like a strong person, not like me, somebody very strong, can bend and stretch very quickly, or stretch and can bend quickly. Then the mind is even more interesting. A thought arises in the mind, and this thought is sankatang, olarikam, paticcasamuppanam. It disappears just like in the case of mind, is little different from others. The simile that Buddha gave is a pan or pot sitting on the fire entire day. It becomes so hot. Anytime you put a drop of water, it evaporates very quickly. Similarly, when the mind is full of mindfulness, this thought, whatever thought arises which is pleasant, unpleasant or neutral, will not stay in the mind, because mind is very full of mindfulness, therefore it completely disappears very quickly in the mindful mind. So the mindfulness kept the mind hot. No greed can stay there, or resentment or anger stay there, confusion can stay there. It fades away very quickly. Now, this is the noble one's supreme development of faculties. Now, in this discourse, there are 3 stages of development. This is the first stage. This applies to an average person who has not yet attained any stage of enlightenment. But when the person has trained the mind in this way, that person can elevate to the next higher level. So Buddha talks about the next higher level of training. That is called higher training. Who has entered upon the way? That is, who is the one who has entered upon the way? Sotapanna. I think you all know the meaning of the word Sotapanna. Sota is, normally we use the word Sota for ear. Sotancha pajanati, saddecha pajanati. Know the ear and the sound. Or Sota also is used for stream. Nadi Sotoya, for example. But in the Sotapanna, the usage of the word Sotapanna does not actually refer to ear or the stream of water. Although we use the stream of water as a simile, but the real meaning of Sotapanna, as Venerable Sariputta answering the Buddha's question in Samyutta Nikaya, when Buddha asked Soto tu Uchati, Kimpana Sariputta Soto, Venerable Sariputta said, Ayameva Aryo Attangigo Maggo Bhante Soto. This very same Noble Eightfold Path is called Sota. So, Sota means Noble Eightfold Path. When one attains the Noble Eightfold Path at the supramundane level, that person is called Sota Panna. So now, this individual who has been practicing development of the faculties in the way that we have already discussed, can attain the stream entry or Sotapanna by following. This person has been following the Noble Eightfold Path to have this kind of mental state, to let go of this sight, sound, smell, taste, touch and thought as quickly as we have mentioned earlier, and bring the mind to mindfulness and especially to equanimity. That person can easily attain the stream entry. And then Buddha talked about that person's training. That's called higher faculties. In him also arises and through the sight, sound, smell, taste and so forth, arises agreeable, disagreeable, and both agreeable, disagreeable. When they arise, he thinks he is ashamed, humiliated, and disgusted by the agreeable that arose, by the disagreeable that arose, and by both agreeable and disagreeable that arose. Why is that? He is embarrassed, ashamed, humiliated, and disgusted. Why? Because his faculties were not well developed. That is why when agreeable object arises, desire arises. When desire, if he knows that desire arose in him, he feels so embarrassed. Why? All this time he has been practicing, training, trying to control his senses. Now, in spite of all this training, practicing, mindfulness, still greed arises in him. So he feels so embarrassed. Not anybody knows about it. Because he is so conscientious, he is so honest, that he feels, gee, I've been practicing, still this nasty lust, greed arises in me. He feels embarrassed, humiliated. And then that greed, that hatred, that lust, when disagreeable arises, anger arises, resentment arises. Then he thinks, what have I done all these years? I've been practicing and still anger arises in me. When confusion arises, he thinks, I've been trying to cleanse my mind of confusion and still confusion arises. So he feels ashamed, beautiful Pali words are attiyati harayati jigucchati, Pali words. Attiyati is ashamed, harayati, humiliated, and Atriyata harayati, what is jigucchati. Jigucchati means disgusted in him. Although nobody else knows it, but within himself he feels so embarrassed. Now, therefore, he immediately let it go and cleanse his mind. Now, this person is stream enterer, trainer. The Pali word is seeker. He is in the high training. And still lust can arise in him, hate can arise in him, and confusion can arise in him. Not confusion with regard to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, but regard to the clarity of his path is still not perfectly clear. So, then comes the last one. The third one is talking about an Arahant. Even in Arahant's mind, Arahant sees objects just like anybody else, agreeable, disagreeable, both agreeable and disagreeable can arise. Now, agreeable to him does not mean that any desire arises. It is conventionally agreeable because he has gone through all these things, conventional meanings, before he attained this state. And therefore he knows previously it was agreeable, previously desire was in him. Now, although desire does not arise in him, it is still an object of agreeable object to anybody else. But when this arises, he has trained his mind in a very special way that he can immediately change the mental state when it arises. So, if he wishes, because his mind is now under his control, and therefore he can switch on to any particular state he wants to have in his mind at that time. Now, when agreeable, disagreeable and both agreeable, disagreeable arises in him, if he should wish, may I abide perceiving the unrepulsive in the repulsive, he sees something pleasant, not repulsive. Then he immediately think of now he wants to see unrepulsive in the repulsive. What does he do? He practices unrepulsive in repulsive. He has been practicing metta. So, at that time, in the repulsive object arises unrepulsive mental state. Because metta encompasses everything, and metta states of mind can see everything the same. Or Okay. If he should wish, may I abide perceiving the repulsive in the unrepulsive? So see the beautiful object. Then he immediately goes into his own meditation on parts of the body. 32 parts of the body. And then he can arouse in himself the repulsive feeling. Now remember, repulsive and unrepulsive are all mental states, the concepts. But the object itself is not repulsive or unrepulsive, it is just an object. But he can make it either repulsive or unrepulsive according to his wish. So then the third position is, if he should wish, may I abide perceiving the unrepulsive in repulsive and unrepulsive. Unrepulsive as well as repulsive, he can see unrepulsive. That is neutral, seeing sankhara upekka. This is called sankhara upekka, because sankharas all are, in vipassana meditation there is one particular state of knowledge called sankhara upekka jnana. That arises when you see all conditioned things are impermanent, unsatisfactory and selfless. Because all conditioned things are marked with these three characteristics. When you see these three characteristics exactly as they are, the mind will not have any notion of repulsive or unrepulsive, ugly or beautiful, because they all are having the same character. They all are impermanent. Impermanence is not beautiful or ugly. Unsatisfactoriness is not beautiful or ugly. Selflessness is not beautiful or ugly. These are just mere reality. Or finally, if he should wish, may I abide perceiving the repulsive in the unrepulsive and repulsive, he abides in that. Then finally, may I, the fifth position, may I avoid both repulsive and unrepulsive, abide in equanimity. Mindful and fully aware. Now, we were talking about 32 parts of the body in several places, and sometimes it is called particular manasikara, reflection or attention of paying attention to the unattractiveness of the or repulsiveness of the body and so forth. But actually, that's in conventional sense, one may say it is repulsive or unrepulsive. But in realistic sense, these are neither repulsive nor unrepulsive. These are just parts of the body. And finally, when the meditator develops the mind in mindfulness and with clear comprehension, the person sees these parts just like a scientist seeing any kind of object under microscope. Say, even in that particular place like Satipatthana Sutta and so forth, Buddha mentioned Seyata bhikkhave mutoli pura nana vitasya danyasya seyatitam salinam vihinam mogganam tilanam tanulanam tamenam chakkuma puriso munchitva paccavekati ime sali, ime vihi, ime mogga, ime tila, ime tanula and so on. Suppose you put various kind of grains into a bag which has two openings. So you close the bottom opening, otherwise you cannot fill the bag. So open and fill the bag with the grains, sesame seed, rice, wheat or moong dal, whatever. Put 32 kinds of grains. And bring it to the out open and open the bag and ask somebody with good eyesight to come and look at it. The person will see the grains and identifies this is rice, this is paddy rice, this is moong dal, this is chickpeas, this is sesame seed, this is mustard. This person does not say, this is rice, I like it, this is moong dal, I hate it. He doesn't do that. He simply identifies each of them. Similarly, the meditator has to identify these parts. Each part is gross, sankatam, olarikam, patisampana. Each part is conditioned, gross and dependently arisen. Every part of this body. And every part is anicca, dukkha, viparinama dhamma. All are impermanent, unsatisfactory and subject to change, altering, mutating. That is the reality. In impermanence there is no beauty or ugly. Any object, whether it is beautiful or ugly, is impermanent. Anything. So this is what he sees. And when that is the way to develop it, develop mindfulness. And when that person attains enlightenment, become an arahant, he is in a very high position to manipulate anything he wants, in any way he wants. Because there is no any fixed position in any of them. Beauty is not something fixed. Ugliness is not something fixed. Nothing fixed. But everything is changing in a state of life. That is what he sees when he attains real, true, deep insight, wisdom. And therefore he is able to manipulate all these things anyway. And maintain his equanimity, mindfulness with clear comprehension. Equanimity, mindfulness with clear comprehension. That is what he has developed all through, from the beginning to the end. And here is a beautiful example. Once he attains that state, these are the 5 positions he can take if he wishes. Why? For this end he has trained his mind. So Ananda, Buddha says, Ananda, the supreme development of the faculties in the noble one's discipline has been taught by me. That is the step 1. The step 1, the basic training of an ordinary person. Then the disciples in high training who has entered upon the way has been taught by me. Who has entered upon the way means the one who has attained the stream entry. And the noble one with developed faculties has been taught by me. The noble one with developed faculties, up to that point, an arahant has gone through all these stages and his faculties are developed, and therefore this is how he behaves when he sees objects, hears sounds and so forth. And then finally Buddha concluded the discourse saying, what should be done for his disciples out of compassion by Tathagata who seeks their welfare and has compassion for them, that I have done for you. Out of compassion, Buddha told this, for welfare and happiness of us, and that he has done. Ananda, there are trees, like in the forest meditation center, Bhavana society, there are trees. There are roots of trees. These empty huts, we have 20 of them, most of them are empty. Meditate and do not delay, or else you will regret it later. This is our instruction to you. So friends, that is what we have to take to our heart, and we try to practice. Beautifully concluded. Remember, when Buddha delivered the sermon, he did not have books like us. Open the computer, go to internet, and ask somebody, go to a library. No. Everything came spontaneously, pouring out of his mind, like a pearl arranged it beautifully, the beginning, middle, and end. See the conclusion? See the way it began? What is the body? It is called Adi Kalyana, Madhya Kalyana, Pariyosana Kalyana. Beginning is excellent, middle is body is excellent, end is excellent. When you write an essay or any thesis, you have an introduction, the body, and conclusion. Buddha did not go to any university to study this. All came so beautiful. Ask any teacher in the world, any religious teacher in the world who has this kind of systematic lecture, spontaneously lecture is so beautifully arranged. When the lecture is over, everybody remembers what he said. And therefore, what he said to us came from perfectly enlightened, beautiful, extraordinary wisdom. That we must remember.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.